Hello and welcome to this spoiler-filled review
For once.
of the new Blade Runner 2049. So I'm joined by, you might have heard him just now, by...
Well, hello everyone. From Nerds of the Verse.
Yep, continuing on... Yep, that's fine.
Okay, there we go, channel plugged.
Always collaborating on Nerds of the Verse, because those are the ones that are most available. So yeah, this discussion of Blade Runner, we're going to talk about story, with all the casts, that sort of thing. Maybe a little bit of philosophical stuff, but...
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot to cover there, but I feel like a second viewing would probably be required for us to pick up on more of it.
Yeah, because we only seen it the once, and we saw it on Thursday night. So obviously, perhaps a quick thoughts. I mean, I really loved the film.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Not better than the first, but I did thoroughly enjoy it.
Oh, see, that's right. I preferred it more than the second. I mean, more than the first.
I can see why. Like, it definitely had a lot more... It had a higher budget, it had a more star-studded cast. Like, you recognise a lot more people in this movie than the original.
Oh, I suppose, but, I mean, the first one, I felt... The second one's been said as being slow, but I thought it was slow almost with more of a purpose. The previous one, I felt it was slow in parts, so I thought it just wanted to kick it up a notch a little bit.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. It still feels like an art house film, much like the first, you know. It's still very stylized, and the visuals are all... That's what's leading this, it is the visuals, more than anything.
Oh, the visuals and the sound... I thought the soundtrack, I really love the soundtrack as well.
Yeah, it was just made to be a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
The plot got a little bit... Personally, I think the first two acts could have used a lot of trimming. There was a lot of excessive sort of scenes there that didn't really help amp anything up or build the mood that much.
I mean, I liked the way they held on scenes that's made you set in the environment, rather than like you saw like a scene, and rather than rushing through, you could see he was like pondering what was going on, and rather than like, you know, because when it, like, for example, I suppose we are straight into spoilers, when he's in like the mine, or it was like the children, the workhouse children.
The factory with I can't remember who the actor was called from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, Morgan. Yeah, because like I'm not sure, it was like, well, basically it was a workshop for children essentially, and he found like the wooden horse from like the memory.
I felt like that was probably the only thing I wouldn't cut down at all. That entire sequence was probably the most perfect part of the movie for me. As opposed to the entire third act. The entire third act flowed perfectly, but for the first two acts, that section is just phenomenal in the pacing and the build-up, and you can really feel the pressure building as the reveal's coming with the horse.
I mean, I thought Ryan Gosling in this film did a fantastic job. I haven't seen too much. I mean, I know some people can say bad things at Ryan Gosling because they think he's just a pretty boy, but I thought he was phenomenal in this film. He
can really act. He is a great actor, and he has a lot of range, but people don't really give him the credit because, like you said, a lot of people do just think he is a pretty boy and that's all he's for, but no, he can carry a story if he needs to.
There's even like Harrison Ford, Robin White as the detective sergeant. I really enjoyed her. The two other female leads, Anna de Armas, she was the hologram lady.
I absolutely loved that.
Yeah.
I loved the chemistry that her and Ryan Gosling had. Like, as much as an artificial person and a computer program can, you really wanted it to work.
Well, and it was also the fact that, as you see later in the film, her character, she's designed to tell the person what they want to hear.
Yeah, and I felt... Oh, sorry, you go first.
Yeah, it was because he wanted to think he was the chosen one, the special one, and the hologram was designed to make him think that. So led him down a path where he thought he was the child, essentially.
Yeah, I felt like that was probably the most interesting aspect of the movie, is like identity and consciousness. How do we define it? How do we know when we're real? I mean, I guess the first one had a lot of that as well with the lead replicants, with Roy, but here it was really driven home, like, how do you define a living being?
Because somehow people in this world are able to know what a replicant is. I mean, there's no obvious clue like an eye colour or whatever. So I don't know how. Obviously, you know, I know you can say it's a future thing, so you can sort of ignore it a little bit.
But I understand what you mean when they're all taunting him, calling him a skin job, and
Yeah, I'm not really sure how.
I guess he just had a reputation because Blade Runners are very, not high profile, but they're always busy in the world. You know, you would obviously know who they were. It's like if you live next to a police officer, like you will become aware of it.
I was what I thought, I was saying the police officer played by Robin Wright.
Yes.
Her character was named Detective. No, Lieutenant Joshi says here. I mean, I still a lot of these names. I don't recall them actually saying the names aside from like Decker, Kay, and obviously Jared Leto's Wallace. The rest of them, I don't really recall actual names being mentioned.
I mean, to be fair,
I don't think it perhaps
in a film like this, the only two characters that really mattered out of all of it were Deckard and Joe, or Kay. I just know him as Joe just because it was when he sort of found his identity.
Yeah,
I felt like he deserved that.
Yeah, and then I'd say, well, Jared Leto's obviously because he was almost like the overall antagonist. But he's not.
But I was very underwhelmed by how they used him.
Yeah, I think that they are saving him for a prospective sequel.
It is very set up to be a new sort of universe going on, but I hope they know when to stop. That's my one wish with this is...
Because I think, at a certain point, Harrison Ford, I know he can't do movies forever, because his character is very much an aged character. So obviously he retired Han Solo. If in the third film they essentially kill off Decker, that would probably make more sense, because at a certain point, you can't just...
Yeah,
I know it's like that's probably not a great thing to say, but I suppose.
No, I really understand where you're coming from here. It's
eventually actors decide they want to stop playing roles.
It felt like this film was meant to be a passing of the torch, but they did it the wrong way. They introduced these new characters, made you love them, and it's like, oh yeah, Deckard's back again. And it's just like, well, I really, really liked Joe. I would have liked to see more of him. But
some people are thinking that he might not have died, but I think that's.
No, just going full spoilers right on the ending here. I mean, we've already started, I guess.
Yes,
I'm assuming this is okay.
It's all spoilers all the time.
But the ending where he dies on the steps, but it's not really made clear entirely, but it makes sense. Dying like tears in the rain, just like the line from the first movie. I feel like it was a very symbolic. Like that's definitely the sort of impression I got from the scene.
Yeah, I thought because he was letting the snow fall on him. He was just deciding to rest because obviously his virtual girlfriend, is gone. Essentially, so his boss
died very early on as well, which I really felt like she could have been a really well utilized character and could have had a lot more appearances in the franchise. Like I feel like if they did another one,
I wonder because she was killed off, but not knowing that Joe had lied to her. So she died having faith in him, but if she'd learned that he had lied to her.
That would have destroyed her. Yeah, that would have. She thought she'd done the greater good thing, but
she thought she'd done her. She was like antagonizing the evil. I won't say perhaps evil's the wrong word, but the antagonist.
Yeah, I would just
because even Wallace wanted. He wanted to have replicants produced to increase. I know it's kind of like, but you could just make them? Why would you need to breed them?
I feel like.
Because he was on about the millions of them, but there's growing them in sacks, fully formed.
It's got to be some sort of psychological angle here as well, because a recurring thing with replicants is... I mean, I know in this movie they said they're fully obedient at this point, but as we saw with Kay, or Joe, as he's called, and all the other replicants, the sort of mini-army we had, that doesn't work. They cannot be controlled as easily as he thinks. They can go rogue still. And I feel like letting them have their freedom, letting them have their own children would make them easier to control almost.
But I think that would make it even worse as well, because at a certain point they're like, why are we serving you, and we're treated like this? I know it's probably there's a slave allegory as well, isn't it? Eventually, they're like obviously they start the rebellion a bit, in a sort of small way. But as you can sort of tell, like that'll probably be a big plot of a third film would be a full-on replicant rebellion. And if they can breed with... I mean, you don't know... Well, and that sort of leads me to a thing about Deckard.
We still don't know.
If he's human... Because if he's human, that means that humans and replicants can crossbreed.
which opens up a lot more doors,
Yeah.
and a lot more possibilities.
And if he is a replicant, that means, well, I find it more interesting if he's human rather than if he's a replicant.
I would, but at the same time, it's almost
Okay.
basically stated to you at the end of the first movie that he's definitely a replicant.
Yeah,
But it's still up in the air. They still haven't officially told us.
No.
And that's the one thing this movie was meant to do, and it's still not done it.
there was like a little hint, was sort of when, oh, you're human, or are you replicant, or whatever, all the way around perhaps, but it doesn't matter.
That's it. They just explicitly state to the audience's face, it doesn't matter. And I do sort of have a problem with that, because it really does.
I think if they'd said either way, you'd have annoyed people.
Yeah, either answer would have pissed off some fans.
Because I'm a personal person, I don't think it doesn't really matter. It's the more the mystery rather than telling you if he is or not.
Yeah, it's very much a story about free will. Like, the whole franchise is about free will. And I feel like finding out whether Deckard was a replicant or not is really gonna outweigh one side of this sort of viewpoint.
Yeah.
Like, if he was a replicant and this was all planned from the start,
That means that
why are they rebelling? What's the point in this? They're still under everyone's thumb. This was all planned.
and if he's human,
Then I don't know.
He's just a rebellious human. I mean, that's the thing. It's you're not really sure.
I feel like if he's human, it gives a lot more weight to the replicant movement.
Yeah, because it's almost
In my
like
eyes.
a human supporting their freedom.
Yeah, I mean, that and the fact that... God, I'm not on a train of thought today. This is a very deep conversation right off the bat for someone who's only been up for an hour. But yeah, I feel like if he's human, it really does give the replicants a real cause, because they're not under anyone's thumb anymore. This isn't just them being played as pawns in the grand scheme of things to biologically make new replicants.
I mean, to be honest, there's all these themes that you get in Blade Runner. I've seen them in things like Westworld and Battlestar Galactica before, so I think they are well trodden in science fiction.
They are, but this is a very
Different. It's a different.
It's a very different take. It's a very cult classic sort of film that you have to tread carefully with how you use these analogies.
I was going to say that Dave Bautista in this.
Phenomenal.
I'm shocked by how good an actor Dave Bautista is. And everyone thinks like The Rock is like the top person from wrestling, but Dave Bautista just...
That's it. He came from a wrestling background. This is basically just a soap opera.
Yeah.
And he's worked his way up to all the ladders of Hollywood. And
I've seen people like John
great.
Cena and like Steve Austin try and just fail.
I don't know. I feel like the problem there is they didn't really have a gateway into real films. They were always stuck with straight to DVD ones or
Action films.
More, yeah.
Well, like The Rock and Batista have gone more comedy route, which has made it like rather than pivoting, oh, she's an action person, he's just a person who just like loud movies.
I will be absolutely disgusted if this movie doesn't win an award for best visual effects.
I mean, the visual effects I've seen before, because it was almost like a vision of the 1980s for what 2017 would be, and this is that extended even further into the future. So you still got your cartridges, your slots, almost like your memory balls, and like very analog still. And I just love that, the way they almost it's like a different version of the future.
I feel like that's something they did really right there. This is something that a different example entirely, but this is something that Prometheus did entirely wrong. If like when they made that movie, like you can argue it from a fan standpoint, but they had all these fancy touchscreens and holograms and stuff, and it's just like in the original movie they didn't have that. They had old Commodore 64 style CRT screens, and you've got to keep the aesthetic. And I feel like Blade Runner 2049 really managed to pull that off.
It is almost looking like a vision of 1980s, 70 years down the line.
Exactly, and it pulls it off perfectly.
And Las Vegas, LA, just like the sea level, having to build a massive seawall to block off
the oceans coming in from ice caps melting.
And something happened in Las Vegas. Something. Apparently, there might have been something in a short film, but the short movies they produced.
I've not seen the short films yet.
I've
heard good things though.
I haven't looked at them, but apparently it might be something to do with that.
Mm.
So Las Vegas is essentially partially covered again by sand, and so it's It's quite interesting, you know, that almost like an abandoned city starting to get reclaimed by the desert, and another city barely blocking off the ocean.
I did like the sort of idea of visuals here, where it's like you're walking. It's like, again back to the first movie, the test to see if they're a replicant. You're walking through a desert, and there's so many parallels here. It's you can't pick them all of them out of today because we've only seen it once, but
Yeah, I mean,
it was very smartly done.
right, I mean, the director, Denis Villeneuve, I'm not sure that's the correct pronunciation.
I'd honestly never heard of him before this film.
Well, I watched his film Arrival, which is another excellent science fiction film, very thought provoking.
Oh, that was him.
Yeah, that. And I was looking at this film because I'm a big Dune fan, and he's set to direct the Dune film. So,
I heard this.
so I was like, going to the film, thinking, ooh, this is a bit of a big film. Can he pull it off? And then, but he seems like almost like a perfect guy for thought-provoking science fiction. So I'm just looking forward to. I had my fingers crossed. I was like, damn, I can't believe he pulled this off.
I feel like I really want to see the sequel to this, to see if they can keep the train going with. Because it's so easy these days for film franchises to succumb to like Hollywood blockbuster stereotypes, but it's very really stayed true to its art house sort of art film classic.
I think it perhaps would have to have
roots.
more action in a sequel if there's a proper rebellion happening.
Yeah, but there's no reason they can't do that tastefully in a way that still focuses more on the cause than the actual actions being taken.
As long as it doesn't ruin itself like Terminator, where it just has to reset itself again and again and again due to disastrous decisions.
I really feel like this franchise has more dignity than Terminator. I feel like if it doesn't get a sequel, it won't take the route of a reboot down the line. I really hope it doesn't.
I think this film, I mean, I've been seeing news reports about it might not have done as well as expected, which is a little bit disappointing. Because I'm hoping that doesn't mean they won't do a sequel, but I think it probably will. I mean, the original Blade Runner did meet its budget.
Yeah, it's.
But I mean, it's meeting your budget, but if production companies don't want to meet their budget, they want to meet their budget and make a profit.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's happened a lot of times in the past, you know. But I feel like here, I've got a feeling that digital and retail sales are going to make a lot of the earnings up for it. You know, like a Scott Pilgrim sort of situation.
Yeah, like probably, and then like China, other places.
Oh, definitely. I feel like the foreign markets are going to rake this in.
Apparently, it's doing quite well in the UK.
I'm glad to hear that.
In terms of like sales, it's doing better than you'd expect from. Probably less than the United States for some reason, but I think there has been declining sales overall for films.
It's just pirating. That's just it. It is killing the market. People do need to wake up to that, but at the same time, they keep on hiking up the price.
I think it's price.
Getting off subject here, but yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. I was gonna say soundtrack. We mentioned the soundtrack. I don't think
we mentioned it briefly.
I keep just going back and forth all that. Yeah,
it was really well done. Like, it really helped amp up the atmosphere and give the film a very unique feel and that identity, I think.
So I was well, one of the particular scenes I thought was quite fascinating was when he was having the sex scene with the hologram / prostitute, and she was like melding almost over.
It was a really impressive visual there. At the same time,
very creepy, but that's how it's supposed to be, I guess.
It is creepy, but like, yeah, you're right. That's I feel like that's the exact feeling they were going for. Like, it's the future. Everything is artificial, even love.
Yeah, because it was essentially his false girlfriend. But then but then the prostitute ends up being a replicant as well in the end, because she was in the light with all the other replicants in like the underground bunker.
It really opens up a lot of interesting sort of thoughts on how the class system works in this world, because all the humans are looking down on replicants, but then for some reason, why are the replicants looking down on the computer programs? Like,
yeah, that is
maybe it's because they're not the same. Like,
physically, if you're
physically,
not...
free will,
yeah,
because they're definitely not programmed to have as much identity.
It's, I think, because the replicants have more free will, but almost like the program, she's programmed to look like she's got free will, but like a video game, you think you've got the choices, but you haven't. Well, this hologram was far more, could give you, like we said earlier on, she designed to give you the impression that she was giving you what you wanted. But in reality, she wasn't.
It's nice. It's a nice, like, way to sort of introduce this, because we didn't see much of it in the last movie. You didn't really see any human characters interacting with replicants beside Deckard. Like, it was used to be a very underground thing.
Yeah,
now they're everywhere.
It was either super aggressive.
That's it.
That was it. It was either aggressive to each other.
The only real one we saw
was
Sebastian and Pris and Roy.
But he was just being played, really.
Well, yeah, I feel like he had a lot of pity for them as well. There was a lot of sympathy between him and the replicants.
Yeah, that was. But in this one, I feel as if the replicants have been given more respect as time has gone on, as the more rebellious ones have gone. But I think they've been seen almost more like not quite as like
not as much as slaves anymore.
Yeah, just a very useful tool. I mean, I don't know if you describe them like as dogs sort of thing or cats. So they're not like a pet, but they're very more than like.
They're definitely not our equal, but they serve a purpose.
It's like you wouldn't like your hammer. You wouldn't give a hammer like equal rights, but it's like somewhere between like. It's difficult to explain really because they're far more self-aware.
But I feel like they've always had this self-awareness.
Yeah.
It's developed more over recent years, but something else that's really impressive is the Earth has definitely repopulated a lot. Like in the first movie, you had Sebastian say, "Oh yeah, I've got the whole building to myself because housing isn't really sparse around here." But now you're seeing these tower blocks that are just filled with people. Like what's happened in the universe over the past 30 years that's made everyone come back to Earth?
Well, I think they said that the off-world colonies are still around.
They're obviously still around, but do they no longer accept people? Are there more genetic defects that stop people going to space?
That'd be quite nice to see, but I think that'd be almost like a television or animated thing, rather than like
Even just another short film.
Oh yeah, short.
Like
what's going on Venus or Mars or.
There's just a lot of unanswered questions that I feel like could definitely use. They could definitely take the time, and it would be a very interesting thing to see how they handle it.
Because Jared Leto's character does talk about the off-world colonies like some sort of you can do far more. I'm guessing unrestricted work off-world compared to what's
obviously it's not going to be as governed as much, is it?
That's because that's we wanted to get Deckard off-world. But yeah, I thought. Oh, I mean, Deckard's fight. No, not Deckard. Joe's fight with I think her name was Luvi.
The main antagonist.
Yeah, the female replicant who's fighting.
Honestly, from a point where Joe finally reached the desert where Deckard was hiding out, right to the last shot, the movie was just perfect. If the whole movie had that pacing and that sort of depth to it, I feel like I would have liked it. It would have been better than the first.
It was when they were traveling the free vehicles going to walk tunnels, and he lops the drone off. The drone slams into one of those cars, and it's like just like, whoa, he's coming. Whoa, what?
He's on a mission, but it's like the fight scene wasn't overly actiony. It was a very slow, heavy fight scene.
Yeah, they feel like because these are almost like two individuals that could take a lot of damage and deal a lot of damage at the same time. Yeah,
there's no rush really.
Yeah, and but they're also trying to be careful not to drown Deckard at the same time
because they both need him alive.
They both need him alive because if they could go full throttle, but then get like something could happen to him being stuck there because like obviously when he's able to just yank that metal off straight away. Well, he can't do it for like I know he's an older man, but still he's probably still reasonably fit, and he can't pull himself off the chair.
That's the thing. That's something else that really pays more towards him being a human than a replicant. Because if he was a replicant, that would have been, despite age, that would have been easy. Like you saw, Dave Bautista's character of Start?
Sapper Morton.
Sapper Morton. You saw when he was throwing Joe around. He definitely still had strength. He'd been around. That was a Nexus 8 model that had been around for 20 odd years, and he could still do everything he could have done 20 years ago. He was still just as strong, just as agile, just as like aware of his surroundings.
Yeah, I suppose there's another element of doubt about replicants not. If replicants you'd have thought. Then again, there's probably replicants models which aren't as strong.
Yeah, so, I mean that's the thing.
You don't know all the different model types.
I was watching I can't remember who the video was by. I think it was Mr. Sunday Movies. But Deckard is supposedly, if he is a replicant, he'll be the same as Rachel from the first film. He'll be a Nexus 7 model, which were designed to be almost identical to humans with no real enhancements whatsoever. Whereas the Nexus 6 and Nexus 8 models were a lot more combat ready.
Yeah, like one or in like production or something like that. Or like...
Yeah. So I guess it does sort of make sense in universe. It still does. It doesn't really definitively answer the question.
Oh, now you mentioned Rachel. What do you think of the CGI for the Rachel replacement?
Amazing. To think that it's only been a year since Rogue One. Not even a year.
Well,
the CGI's already come along so much.
Yeah, it was the voice, and she allowed her modelling of her original, of her face.
Yeah.
For this new actress, and it was like.
I honestly, if you would have told me that was the same actress, like just put in from the first movie, I would have believed you. Like it was the effects in this movie was spot on. Honestly.
What do you think about that when Wallace brings out the replacement Rachel? What did you think about when he said, "Oh, she wasn't the same," because
her eyes weren't very.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult question here because it's really all about Deckard's sentimentality for Rachel because he really was in love with her, even if she was a machine. But I don't know. It was a really hard scene to watch just because of how emotional it got. Like Deckard was so cold and unfeeling to her, and it makes sense. It's like if you bring someone back from the dead, you're gonna be shocked. You're not gonna be happy. You grieved. You've got over that person. It's almost like disrespecting their entire legacy.
I did like the way they decided to write Rachel characters out by dying in childbirth. Because it made her part of a mystery as well. Because obviously, you probably weren't expecting her to be around for the sequel. Because also, I think obviously Harrison Ford's like the big name to be brought back.
Mm.
But rather than just ignoring it, it was a very logical and a very reasonable way to use the character.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like obviously replicants weren't designed for childbirth, so it makes sense. It makes sense that she would die during that. But
I wonder if Tyrell, who made her, actually designed it like that way, that they could give birth to children, but the mothers wouldn't survive, just trying to limit them.
I honestly don't even know if he designed it knowing that she'd be able to conceive a child. I feel like she was a prototype, if anything, because she was obviously one of the first replicants to not realize they were a replicant, but still already be created with free will.
Yeah. I suppose it's you can never know, because I'm guessing if there had been a sequel prior to this, I'm guessing they would have done something else, because they decided to get rid of the Tyrell Corporation and replace with Jared Leto's company, the Wallace Corporation, which is I don't really bother it because obviously it's
just changing out one faceless corporation for another.
Yeah, and because I think the Tyrell Corporation felt like it was always based around the founder who was killed in the first film.
And not to mention it had like 10 employees. Like that's all we saw, and most of them were killed off in the first movie.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to carry on? There's not really anyone to inherit the company because they're all dead.
Yeah, and obviously probably if the founder gets killed by his own creation, I know
there's a lot of legal implications there.
If Bill Gates was killed by a Microsoft computer, I think there would have been some sort of problems going on there.
I mean, obviously, it even stated in the beginning about Wallace about like replicants being completely outlawed after the incident with the Tyrell Corporation.
Yeah.
And Wallace only being allowed to do it because he had a way of controlling them 100%.
I was thinking about the child now. And did you think that Ryan Gosling's Kay was the child?
I completely believed it.
Yeah, I thought he was.
That really played around with your head a lot, and I loved that. That was probably my favourite aspect of the film, was is he, and all the questions that it raised. And
but still, the question is, how did he get? Because mentally illegal. To put the memory from the
real daughter.
Yeah. So it's obviously said it was twins. So people saying perhaps he was the son, and she was the daughter. So they were twins.
Yeah. I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, that's
Oh my god, that's just blown my mind.
because obviously the daughter was played away by saying that she died during childbirth, but left, and they're looking for a male, and he assumed that it was him. But I thought
I really hope
perhaps-
we've not just ruined the twist for the sequel that's not even
Yeah.
began production yet.
Ryan Gosling is back. He's like, well, I thought he died. Nope, he's the
Oh
son.
no, I bet he'll be totally dead, but then that'll be the big emotional hammer of the next one. It's like, oh yeah, he was real all along, by the way.
Yeah, that would be quite. Because he said to Harrison Ford at the end. I keep saying Harrison Ford instead of Decker, but I think
No, so everyone knows what you mean.
But yeah, it's like, oh, what do I mean to you? And he's like, essentially refused to because I don't know if he felt embarrassed or just he was just disappointed that he wasn't, or he thought he wasn't the son.
I mean, obviously you would if you'd have been brought up to think I'm the chosen one. I'm the one that's going to change turn the tides on an entire race of people's rights.
Yeah.
And then you're all suddenly sold, oh no, you're just a pawn in a much bigger game. That would emotionally crush you.
Yeah, I wonder if because I don't know if it's stereotypical to have a white male be almost like a hero character. I wonder if that's one thing they're trying to avoid a little bit. But obviously they've got a female heroine. But her actress, I don't recall what her name was. Like, I don't really recognize the actress.
The list here.
Carla Jury, I think that's.
Yes.
Yeah, Carla Jury. So I haven't seen her in much else really. I'm kind of surprised if someone's so important.
Where's she from originally? Is she American or is she a foreign actress?
Someone from Switzerland.
Italian speaking.
Italian Swiss, essentially.
Fluent in German, English, and Italian. Okay. So that's probably why, because it's like I can't remember the actress in Ex Machina that played Eva.
I'm watching it in a while. I can't remember.
But she was a foreign actress. She'd never been anything before that. And I've seen this this has really become a recurring thing recently. They are bringing in a lot of like actors from abroad and making them stars in Hollywood, and I think it's a really good thing for the industry.
Oh yeah, but I was just wondering because if a sequel, she'd have to be like the
She will have to carry it.
prominent character, and with Ryan Gosling could basically carry this by himself.
Mm.
Without him, you'd have to get another supporting character. I don't know who you get really. I mean, you could get like I know you could get a female character as the main one, and be like a supporting character and her character being not but like a secondary character. Perhaps in the background she's doing things, but you're following someone else.
I feel like they're really gonna make Harrison Ford lead the next one. If they do it, I feel like this was a reintroducing his character, showing you where he's up to. And then the next one will be yet another passing the torch of Harrison Ford to
someone else.
Well, probably her, maybe someone else.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see, I guess. But
Well,
I think they'll give her a movie to develop as a character first.
Well, I've got fingers crossed there is a sequel because
I really hope so. Like, this was left so open-ended, they can't just leave you hanging there.
I think Denis Villeneuve almost has to come back to do it because he's just done such a great job in it.
He really has.
I mean, I've seen like the trailer for the new Pacific Rim without Guillermo del Toro, and I'm a bit worried. It's not quite the same, but that's my kind of almost like you take it away from a director who's done so well, and you give it to someone else. You're kind of thinking, can they carry on the torch?
Well, to be fair, going into this knowing that Ridley Scott wasn't really all that involved or at least he wasn't directing, I wasn't overly, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for.
You're a bit concerned. Perhaps you just
I was concerned that it wouldn't work because Ridley Scott wasn't back for it. But it's really shown that a different director can work fine.
I mean, I don't mind like a relatively unknown. I mean, you don't want like a first time director doing it. But,
Oh God, no.
But like Villeneuve, almost like he did Arrival before.
Mm. He definitely proved his worth before this.
So you need someone who's you might have done something because you get directors who've done small things and they get brought up to do large things. Like the Marvel universe, you get plenty of directors who've done small films brought
the
in.
Russo brothers have really done this in recent years.
So I don't mind it because I think Ridley Scott, I think he's sort of been a bit hit or miss lately.
Yeah, I've still not seen the latest Alien film.
Yeah, I've heard.
I'm sort of putting it off because I've heard very
I've heard
mixed things.
poor things about down. So, I've liked a lot of Ridley Scott's films, but I think it's just a case of as is perhaps his style's got a bit dated, perhaps.
That's
perhaps,
one aspect, but to be fair, I am very biased with Ridley Scott because the Alien franchise is very near and dear to me. It's something that I am very invested in.
Yeah.
So
I really liked the Gladiator film with Crowe as well.
Gladiator.
Yeah.
But I mean, more so like Prometheus. I feel like I'm one of the few people that, while it does have a lot of problems, I will defend it a lot. I did really enjoy Prometheus.
I enjoyed it. I don't think it was terrible. I think it was just an okay
there were
film.
a lot of haters on it, is all.
Yeah, I think a lot when you go into a franchise film, and if you don't live up to expectations, you're going to get a lot of criticism from.
Yeah, I mean,
just like the new Star Wars.
So much built up around it, so much legacy.
That's
you
why
have a lot of expectations to meet. You're never going to please anyone.
That's why when you get new things, you don't have to worry about expectation because there is no baggage really. Aside from whatever baggage might have come with you, I guess.
I mean, a great example of this was, did you see Chronicle?
Yeah.
Yes. I can't remember the name of the director from that. He was amping up to do the next Star Wars, and then he dropped out last minute. But he directed Fantastic Four as well, and it's another problem, and I'm really happy it worked here. Is a director sort of debuts their act with a new original movie, and then they give them, a beloved franchise. They're like, here you go, see what you can do with this. And a lot of the times it can go wrong. So I'm just wondering how much studio control was involved in this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it seemed like there wasn't a lot. By the way, how successful this is in terms of production, anyway. I wonder if there was limited control, because
I hope so.
I don't think Blade Runner is like a massive franchise similar to what Fantastic Four props could have been, or even other like Marvel or Star Wars. There's less riding on it. I mean, also there's a big budget, millions of pounds, so you can't say there's nothing riding on it. But there's always so much you can do going further along with Blade Runner in comparison to a Star Wars. Star Wars seems it can just go on and on and on.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, I feel like studios just need to learn to trust their directors, and I feel like this film is the perfect example of this. Like, they trusted him, they knew that he could make a good film if he wanted to.
I mean, if you're going to hire a director, if you can't trust the person you're hiring, why are you hiring the person in the first place?
Exactly.
You say, this is your job, you direct. If you fail, I don't know. I think like everyone gives a bad job for executives, but I suppose they got shareholders, people looking out for them to.
They do have a lot of pressure on their shoulders to make sure something succeeds.
So I think
it is always on them if it fails. But
yeah, so I think sometimes we can be a bit too harsh on the suits, but I think
we can. But at the same time, it has been their fault that things have gone wrong a lot of the time.
Yeah. Is that about it we got so far?
I think we just have a quick sweep over the highlights of the cast, maybe, and just
oh yeah, well,
say what we like, say what we might want to see in a sequel.
Yeah, a lot of the I want to see a lot more of the Jared Leto character Wallace.
Definitely.
In a sequel, because he's been teased essentially as the big bad, really.
Yeah, it was very, very underused in this film, and they better use him in the next one.
Because the female antagonist, obviously, essentially you could clone or create a new replicant, and you could, because if they can regrow essentially Rachel again, they could do the same this replicant.
But really, it's just how much of the same person are they? Because I feel like that is a really interesting sort of question we could have. If this female antagonist does get brought back, they clone her again, will it be the same antagonist? Will it just be a blank slate? Will they be able to put the memories back? Because they've obviously shown that inserting memories is a very easy thing to do in this universe.
But I wonder, because with Harrison Ford's daughter character, Doctor something or other, she was involved in the memories. So if she goes, will that affect the memories for new replicants? Because she's the one who's she's the best dream creationist. whatever.
No, I know what you mean. The best sort of sample to use on the new replicants.
Do you think perhaps if the future replicants there aren't, won't be as obedient because their dreams aren't as creative or aren't as well constructed in the future?
It's really... Because they've obviously already got all her stuff on file, haven't they? They've obviously already got all her DNA and memories and everything they're using in production stored away. But I feel like if anything, the only thing it'll do is halt advancement in replicant technology. I feel like that might be something that's interesting to see. Like, all of a sudden, the economy just crashes because there's no more new replicants to do more work for them.
Yeah.
There's less ways to control them.
So going back to the sort of cast, I mean, Harrison Ford obviously would have to come back, really.
He has to. He absolutely has to.
Yeah. I would like to see that the holographic lady come back, maybe a cameo rather than like a full appearance, because she was obviously in the billboards.
I would like to see her come back, but at the same time, I feel like if they're gonna bring anyone back, and it's gonna be like a shock, it's gonna be Ryan Gosling, and he's gonna be cloned, and he's gonna be switching sides this time, and then if they do bring back his virtual wife, then that's going to be used as a sort of ammunition to turn the tide. I hope they don't go that route, because that sounds very cliche to me.
Yeah.
But that feels like a very Hollywood thing to do.
I suppose with sci-fi, you can get it's very easy to hit the cliches.
Yeah, there are a lot of them. It's like walking a minefield.
It's amazing how Blade Runner's been able to dodge them.
It is. This movie has really gone out of its way to be something original and new, and I really appreciate that.
Because I know a lot of people say, well, I saw the twist come in. But I think it doesn't matter if you figure out a twist if the twist is well constructed.
Exactly. Like,
it's like, oh, well, that's not, it's like you figured it out, good for you. But if you can say, oh, well, it was this, and this, it's like, yep, that's fine.
That's it. It's like the original Blade Runner. You could, in theory, well, not in theory, I've done this multiple times over the past few years. You can go back and watch it again, and the twist at the end still hits you as hard every time. Only with Final Cut, obviously.
Yeah.
It's through every other version of Blade Runner. But
yeah, that's the thing. Like, sometimes mysteries, they're still good to watch.
Yeah.
Watch them, rewatch them again, because then you see what you miss.
Yeah, you pick up on things that like the subtle telling you what's going to happen,
and then you can almost like appreciate the overall mystery even more.
Like how well structured it all is.
Because even like we said about was he the son? Is he not the son? And it's like, that still came out, like, I was like, whoa.
This should have irked me a lot more than it did. But this movie was meant to answer a lot of questions from the first one, and all it did was raise more. But usually, if this was any other franchise, I would be very angry. I was very angry at Star Wars about it, about Episode 7, about just raising all these questions. It's like, no, don't give me more mystery. Tell me the old ones. But this is the only case where I'm like, this is so well done, you can't even be mad.
Yeah. Well, I would say Robin Wright's character as the police sergeant, I thought she was a really good performance as well.
She was brilliant.
Well, do you know the scene where she's drinking in his apartment, and she says, "Oh, if I finish this bottle, what happens next?" Do you think she'd have said, "You must sleep with me now"? Because I thought that was what was happening.
That felt like that was what she was getting at.
And he essentially didn't say no. He essentially just tried to weave back towards doing his job.
She was one of the few human characters that we got to see a lot of, really, in this film.
And I couldn't really say almost like a bad thing about her character. I mean, she was essentially just, I don't know, it's the whole thing about she was just doing her job, hunting down replicants.
I feel like there was a lot more interesting stuff to do with her and Joe's relationship. Like, I feel like they deserved a bit more screen time together. Yeah. So they do have this sort of, I don't know, tutor-apprentice sort of relationship.
I do feel there was a little bit of tension there, because
there was a little bit of tension, and it's sort of, I feel like it was a fact that Joe was slowly rising up to a point where he didn't need her, and she could see that. She felt like she was losing control of it.
Because there was a thing about the soul, wasn't there?
Yeah, exactly.
She mentioned about you don't need a soul.
Lucky for you weren't born with one.
Yeah.
That line never fails.
I do wonder about religion in this sort of future world as well. Because you think a soul thing would be a more religious type of tone. Because There's
we
nothing.
we don't really see much of that.
Yeah, there's nothing like in the Blade Runner 2 films about in terms of religion because, you know.
Although, I don't know. I don't really see it as a religious thing. I feel like it's more from a philosophical standpoint.
Yeah, I suppose.
You know, there was a line in it, a very famous line. I think, therefore I am.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's what that was getting at more. Like, I don't know. It's a really hard sort of thing to describe.
But yeah, I would say in terms of like the actors, I can't think of anyone who did a bad performance.
No, I think everyone was really bringing in their A game for this.
It was top notch from minor to major. Even like the little like the clerk in Wallace's pyramid. I liked his little character. And they're like, oh,
he was very quirky.
Yeah, and it was like something about a blackout, and he's like, oh, my mother was very upset when she lost my baby photos, and Ryan Gosling a slight sarcastic, oh yeah, I'm sure you're a beautiful child. I did like that. It was
really interesting though the fact that they did have to go all physical for all their file keeping. Like, I think the Blackout is one of the short films, isn't it? It's explained in where this. Yeah, that's one.
So they lost all their digital records, but they still had some paper records. So I wasn't sure they lost some paper or they didn't.
Unless this was like that was a backup and they just maintained it and they just carried on maintaining it.
Because I remember like a lot of stuff was corrupted.
Obviously, that's a lot harder, a lot easier even to
like a cartridge
to tamper with and cover up.
But just imagine nowadays if there was some sort of mass blackout. Electricity. I think they said it was like I'm sure it's about maybe 5 or 10 years, like no power or something like that. And no internet, no podcasts, no YouTube.
I guess that's why Wallace found it so easy to rise up using off-world sort of bases and production lines and stuff.
No, what I mean is like nowadays if you think about it, if we had no internet connectivity for 5 or 10 years. I mean, imagine if some sort of something happened to.
Just lose all connection with the rest of the world, and
because like a lot of like analog systems, I mean, aren't as prevalent as they used to be. Even though it's quite amazing to think about it because we're far more digitally linked than they would have been back in the 1980s. They thought about if something happened like that today, so it'd be hell on earth.
There's a lot of interesting things to explore here, and I really hope it gets a sequel.
Oh yes, yeah.
I also would like a different cut, because my one gripe with this film is it was too long.
I think
it was 40 minutes too long.
I perhaps on second viewings, I think I'd find the length.
I might appreciate it more on a second viewing, but for a first viewing, 2 hours and 40 minutes is a long movie. You have to be in the mood for this.
Yeah, we had a couple of friends who actually fell asleep.
Hell, I'm pretty sure I nodded off for 5 minutes in the first act at one point. But the thing is, that's the reason why I'm okay with it being trimmed down. Is I woke up and I had not missed a single plot point. I knew exactly what was going on. They had not progressed whatsoever.
Yeah, you need to be well rested and make sure your bladder is empty before starting this. Don't take any large cokes when going into seeing this.
Overall ratings, how would we rate this, Pete?
I would probably give 5 star.
5 stars. Oh, if we're going out of 5s, I'd go 4.5 stars, 4.5.
So I was thinking go for the 5 star because we're doing a film rather than like a game or something like that.
Yeah, I'd definitely go 4.5.
Yeah, well that's pretty.
It's definitely a great movie, and I would recommend this to anyone that's a fan of the original. It doesn't surpass it, but it is definitely up there.
I mean, I prefer this to the original, but I mean, I don't mind if people disagree. But yeah, I think I guess there's so much more you could potentially say about this film.
It really feels like a blossoming franchise.
And this is just the two of us, and how long have we been going for? Nearly 50 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, we've been talking just the two of us, and we probably missed a whole bunch of stuff as well.
Well, I guess maybe when it comes out on DVD, we could do a second opinion
with like a couple of our friends.
Yeah, we could do a revisit.
Well, yeah. So I'm back tomorrow with Jacob to watch the new Star Trek. There's less philosophy in that.
A little bit easier going,
A
hopefully.
little bit easier going that is because much shorter.
I think we've got a new episode of the Torchwood 5 podcast coming out at some point this week.
Yeah.
on
I'm also doing.
Nerdverse.
There's also got Lucifer and Mr. Robot start this week as well. So I'm doing short reviews. So
Full plate here.
yeah, just they're a lot shorter because by myself, and they're quick run those.
So
Yeah, so
thank you for listening. If you've listened to
I think we're
all 50 minutes of us rambling.
yeah. We've got well, the fourth film comes out, and the
Fourth film comes
out soon. There's a Jackie
3
Chan.
or 4 weeks.
Yeah, and there's a Fugitive with The Foreigner, which is the Jackie Chan film comes out. That should be quite interesting. I don't think perhaps we'll do anything for those 1 or 2, but we'll see what.
I'm definitely up for doing a Thor review because I'm really looking forward to this.
I've heard some good things about that one, but yeah, so I think that does it for us. So
yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for having me on, Pete.
Yep, no problem. Go check out Will's. Well, it's perhaps not Will's channel, but
It's definitely Callum's channel.
yeah, but go check them out as well, and we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Bye.